Hello everyone, welcome to another podcast. My name is Ben Lister. Welcome to the podcast radio show. Today's episode 22 of the podcast radio show with beautiful South's very own Gary Hammond. I chat about his musical career, his early inspirations and influences, his favourite part about the job, and how COVID has affected him and what advice he would give to the next generation of musicians. So here it is, my interview with Gary Hammond from beautiful South. Hello and welcome to another podcast. It's episode, it's 2021. We are out of a lockdown now. And welcome back to the Ben Lister podcast radio show here on Hull Kingston Radio 107.4 FM. I have had so many different guests from the world of radio and music over the last 21 episodes, and episode 22 is no different, so let's get on with this episode. Today's guest I've treasured from the archives. He's from the beautiful South and he's a legend of Hull. It's Mr. Gary Hammond. Hello, Gary. Welcome along.
How are you, Ben? I've been called many things, but a legend not very many times.
How are you anyway?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm very well indeed.
That's good. 5 questions about your music career, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
That's good. Are you ready for question 1?
I am.
Let's go for it. Question 1. Where did you start your broadcast career? No, sorry, musical career.
I'm from Bethnal Green in the East End of London. You probably worked that out from the accent a little bit. But I've moved to Hull in 97, I think it was. And but when I was growing up, friends of mine were musicians, just purely by chance. And they were playing, and I used to watch them play, and I was always tapping my knees all the time, tap, 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 tap. And one of them, Colin Wilkinson, a wonderful drummer, said, why don't you get yourself some bongos? And so I saved up for a few weeks and got myself a little pair of wooden bongos and played them virtually non-stop and loved them, absolutely loved them. And luckily for me, I then thought I liked this, so I got myself some congas, which are the bigger Latin American drums. And so you have to have another technique for them, really. So I played them continually, and then I began to sort of investigate the different types of percussion that there are around, really. So there's cowbells, triangles, and normal sort of things, wood blocks. But I've got nearly 1,000 instruments now of stuff that is very odd and weird and strange. And through having so much gear and through playing so much and practicing on my own, I started to join bands, really. There used to be a magazine called The Melody Maker many years ago, where you had a sort of jobs wanted for all sorts of musicians, and sometimes a percussionist wanted. And I remember going to a couple of them. I got a job in one of the bands, and through that band splits, which bands always do, but the sort of 5 or 6 players go 5 or 6 different ways, and then they bring you in another band and say, we need a percussionist. So you start to create a sort of a real base of musicians that you can work with, that know you and connect with you. And it really started from there, really. It's just about playing and playing and playing and playing again, and practicing. And so, things, not always, but some things can start to click for you. And that's where I started, really, in the East End. And I've ended up in Hull, in the West End of Hull.
Nice. How's the we'll go on to question 2. Who were your early inspirations in music growing up?
Oh, I think my sister's older than me and she loved music. So she played Motown and Stax. Stax the Otis, really, the Wilson Pickett's, the Percy Sledges, the early Stevie Wonders, the Marvin Gayes. All the time I listened to that growing up in the house as a kid. And I think that is certainly sort of infected the way that I play. I've never had music lessons. I never went to music school. I don't read music. I'm self-taught, and I used to play along to the classic Motown and Stax stuff And so my playing, I suppose, is quite funky in a way because it naturally comes from that funky side of things. But through getting the bongos and congas, which are particularly relevant for Latin music, I fell in love with Latin music. And so I played along with loads of early Cuban and salsa music, which I still to this day absolutely love. So they're my inspirations, really. It's a mixture of Latin, Cuban, New York salsa, Motown, and Stax. A whole melange of that, really. Anything that grooves, and it will influence me.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's really good, that. And also, I look at people who I listened to growing up, and first bit of music I think I heard was the Status Quo.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, someone who I have on Facebook, is actually the son of a Status Quo band member, and he may be coming on a podcast in the future.
Oh, lovely.
Rick Parfitt Jr.
All right, yeah. Well, he's still around, isn't he? I think Rick Parfitt's still going.
No, his dad, I think, passed a few years ago.
Oh, did he pass away? Oh, right. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but Rick Parfitt Jr. it was.
Right, cool.
Who's the son of the legendary Status Quo frontman.
Yeah.
Yep. Question 3. What is your favourite part about being a musician?
Oh. I think being self-employed musician, it enables you to work with as many different people as possible, which I really like. Although I was 13 years in the beautiful South, travelling the world with them, and it was fantastic and a wonderful experience. When we weren't working, I went back to doing my freelance and working with different groups and different bands again. I think that's a really nice thing about being a musician. That it's very rare that you just play with one band and stay in that band forevermore. Incredibly rare. You tend to, certainly the friends that I work with and the people I know, you tend to work with a multitude of different people. So that's a really nice part. I think it's also being in control of your diary and of your daily life is really nice as well. To say yes or no to certain things. I mean, most musicians say yes, and we always say yes to as many things as possible. But it's also nice being able to just have that sense of control that, you've got a rehearsal on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll come on the Wednesday because on the Tuesday I might want to go out on my bike. On my bicycle, that is, not my motorbike. The little things like that, you just got a little bit more control rather than doing the 9 to 5, because most musicians don't do the 9 to 5 stuff. Sometimes if you work music service, and they do fantastic work, you have got a regular sort of hours, but we don't have regular hours, and that's been a really nice thing to do. I can sort of organise my year ahead a lot easier than most people can, which is nice. And also being involved in creativity, coming together with different musicians and just pulling ideas from each other, and all of a sudden this song or this tune or this groove appears. That's a wonderful thing, really, to just be creative and to have an idea and to move it forward. Usually rhythmically for me, and other people obviously have ideas about lyrics, and other people have ideas about melody and tunes, and that bringing them 3 or 4 or 5 different ideas together, and at the end of it you have this 3 or 4 minute piece of music that people can listen to, or you can just listen to, or it can even, with luck, end up on radios and people are dancing to it and stuff like that. It's a lovely thing to be able to do, and I do enjoy that, the creativity side of music.
Brilliant, yeah. And also you look at your people, your legends, like it's brilliant. Music is motion of the mind. It helps you with mental health.
Yeah, it certainly does.
I know some of my friends who created a thing called the Beats Bus.
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
Yeah, and they've helped people who are struggling, how you say.
It's really nice. Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of that over in Doncaster with Doncaster Community Arts. Exactly the same sort of thing. And it is a really nice thing to do.
Brilliant. Yeah, because that's good. And now we're on to question 4. What is your greatest achievement in your music career?
Yeah, I think one of the greatest achievements is to be able to make a living out of music. I've never had any other job, so that's a big achievement. I think as a 20-year-old leaving sort of unions, FE college and things, and starting out in bands and being able to uh, make a living from music, and still to this day, still to be able to do it. That's a big achievement, I think, because that's not always the case. Certainly with music, because it can be quite a difficult area to be in. You just have to pursue it if you really want it, and sometimes no matter how much you really want it, it just doesn't work. So it can be lucky sometimes to be able to do that. Um, I think working with different people. I mean, it was great working with Beautiful South because Paul Eaton's he's an amazing songwriter, um, and can pull tunes together. He's really good at melodies. And working with Dave Rothery, the two of them have created some monster hits and some wonderful tunes over the years. And I suppose being around that and seeing that occur and having a very small part in that, in their sort of progress, really was a lovely thing to behold, to see how their craft really works. Um, and they're great, they're lovely people. All of the band were, but Dave and Paul were the main writers, obviously, and just to see the way they honed their craft and the way they worked out what they did and how it just appeared, and how they were, they've written some absolute classic songs. It was lovely to be around that, to see how they did it and what they got up to. I don't really know how they did it, because if I did, I could do it myself, but I can't. They do that sort of stuff, and they do it extremely well. Um, Playing wise, I think working with someone like Nina Simone was probably the most exciting part of my. I mean, I've done all sorts of loads and loads of TV stuff, from London's Burning to Monica the Glen to Comic Strip to Lenny Henry Show, Ruby Wax Show, all of that sort of stuff. And it's been great fun to do in studios in London, recording all the stuff that you hear when you're watching the shows and things. But playing with, for me, one of the greatest sort of musical icons in musical history, really, Nina Simone, was a fantastic moment, and I'll never forget that, really. And she was great. Unfortunately, she passed away very quickly, not long after I sort of joined to work with her. But that was a real stunning moment, really. But there's lots of things. It doesn't matter about who you work with. Sometimes it's about what you create with whoever you're working with. So most things, if you can get something out on CD, or if you can do some gigs, or you do a mini tour, that's an achievement, really, in music. And so there can be really big things, but there can be really tiny things as well. A small part of playing on a single where you really enjoyed what you did, that could be a great achievement as well. And that's really inspiring to do. So there's all sorts of layers of that achievement, really. And I've been lucky to be involved with different sort of sections of them layers.
Yeah, and also one of the songs that I heard on the radio once was one of the songs that I remember from the Beautiful South is "Don't Marry Him, Not Me," is it?
Don't marry her.
Yeah.
Not him. Yeah.
That song was ringing around in my head before I came to interview you.
Yeah, he's got they've got an incredible facility to writing very, very catchy songs, and Dave, after the band split, he created a band called Homespun, which I was in for a while, and again, incredibly catchy hooks and melodies. And Paul continues, Paul's back now with Jackie doing big arenas, big stadiums, and again, he can just keep writing stuff that people really love and people sing along to. And that is incredibly difficult to do, especially with the longevity of his career, to continue doing stuff that people will sing along to and want to buy and be a part of, is an amazing thing. So yeah, they're two quite incredible musicians, really.
Have you been in contact with it? Are you still in contact with them two?
I see Paul and Jackie. When Paul, very luckily, he asked me to do his last 4 solo albums with Jackie. So I've the studio in Castleford and the studio in Manchester where I've done them. And they've been great fun. Yeah, it's always lovely to see. We both love cycling, so we're on a cycling fantasy league together. So yeah, we keep in contact. We're not in contact all the time because we know, I know he's there and he knows I'm here. If we'd ever want to chat, we chat. But he's a very busy man because he's writing continually, and the band he's got now are really, really busy. So I don't see him as much as I'd like to, but we certainly keep in contact when the albums come out, and I go over and do some recording with him.
Brilliant. Would you ever reunite with the beautiful South here? If it's a Hull Kingston radio exclusive, would you ever reunite with the beautiful South?
That will never happen. I'll tell you that it will never happen because Paul and Jackie are doing that. They don't need to reunite with anyone because they're doing exactly. They're doing great stuff, and Paul's still writing, so he doesn't have to reunite the South. I think the South were, a part of musical history, and I was glad to be a part of it. But it's done now. I think Paul and Jackie are sort of furrowing their own plough and moving forward ahead, writing different stuff because they've got a different band, so it will always sound different. The musicians in his band are absolutely brilliant now, and they're lovely people as well. He's got a knack of surrounding himself with really nice people, Paul. So when you go on tour, you're always having a laugh and feeling very comfortable and fine. But no, I don't see the beautiful South ever coming together again because there's no need for them. I think he's Paul Heaton and Jackie Abbott as a band unit now is where the new place is.
Yeah, brilliant. And finally, we'll come on to question 5, last question on the list. What advice would you give to young, aspiring musicians who are starting out?
Well, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, to play as much as possible, to practice as much as you can, to try and find other people to play with, and just keep playing, keep writing. I know people like to do covers of other people's tunes, and that's okay because you're still playing and still having fun. But I think if you're really thinking seriously about being a musician, you need to really find your own path with a group. So you need to really do songwriting and doing your own stuff. It's okay doing covers now and again within a set. But really, if you really want to make a go of it, you need to start writing together, making your own stuff. And of course, writing, and if it kicks on and it's successful, it's the songwriting and the actual writing where you can really earn the money as well, if that's what you're going for. When you start out, you don't really think about the money, you just want to play. I think it's really important. I think, I'm a member of the Musicians Union, and I think every musician, once they start working a little bit and thinking this is where I want to be, should start join the union immediately. There's some unscrupulous people in the music industry, like many industries, and you have to be careful, and the union will look out for you if need be, if you need them. If you're not in the union, they won't be able to do a thing for you. So that's something I'll always say to a young, aspiring musician is join a union so that you're protected and looked after when you need it. I've had to use them in the past as well. So, you might not use them for years and years and years, but there'll be a moment where you might need them and they're there for you, which is a good thing. But I just think, play, see where you're going, listen to things, get ideas, grab ideas, try them out. If they're not good enough, throw them out. If they're good, keep them in and rework them, replay them, play around with them. And that's it, just keep going. It can be frustrating. It can be difficult when you're first starting out to get gigs, to earn money. But it's worth the effort just to see how long you can go to try and hone some stuff and get some stuff ready for action and see what it's like, see what the response is. And you just never know with this business. You never, ever know what can happen.
Brilliant, yeah. That's it for today, Gary. Thank you for joining us here on Hull Kingston Radio 107.4 FM, here on the Ben Lister Podcast Radio Show.
It's been a pleasure, Ben. Thank you.
Would you like to say anything to our listeners before you go?
I should say hello to everyone, really. And I still enjoy living in Hull. I think it's a lovely city, full of great people.
And lots of great musicians as well.
Right, there is. It's a real, historically, from Mick Ronson onwards, the Adelphi, House Martins, all sorts of stuff have been going on in this place. And sometimes it's not always known, because I think Hull's that sort of city where you have to go into it. You can't pass through Hull, you have to actually go to it. And so when these wonderful musical gems have appeared, sometimes not many people know about them, but they will if it's good enough. And you kick on out there, and they'll know more about the whole music scene, which is vibrant and always on the go.
Bowie's band were from Hull.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep, that's it for today here on Hull Kingston Radio. But for now, please give it up for the one and only Gary Hammond. Thank you very much for watching. This will be available on YouTube, and it will be available on my website, wix.com, which I'll upload onto Facebook later on. But thank you very much for watching and listening. And that's a wrap.
That was my interview with Gary Hammond. Hope you really enjoyed it. Hope it filled the time in your gap. Hope it filled gaps in your time. I'll be uploading my first two BL and Friends podcast, episode 7 and episode 8, later on tonight, so stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and all that stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, time for me to go now.